Welcome to Lumina Learning's Couch Conversations, the first of many. I'm very excited and very grateful to our highly esteemed guests. I'm really looking forward to you introducing yourselves. Andrew Irumba, Megan de Klerk and Priyal Ramdass, thank you for being here. So the topic we've chosen for our launch Couch Conversation is looking back and looking forward. And you can imagine why. You know, COVID has shifted the world and every single person's been affected. For some, for many, sadly, it's been devastating. And then there's this huge continuum to the other side where people have really found it liberating with lots of new opportunities and majority sitting somewhere on that line. So very excited to explore where we're coming from, but also with hope looking forward, and especially within our world of learning and development, where there's so much opportunity to support and help others and make a difference. So, Andrew, I'm going to ask you first to start to introduce yourself. Please don't be modest, but I have instructions to ask you to keep it brief. So over to you, Andrew.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you to everyone at Lumina Learning for setting this up. I think it's a really lovely initiative, and look forward to seeing it evolve. My name is Andrew Irumba. I was born in Uganda, in East Africa, and came to South Africa when I was about 5 years old. And immediately arriving in South Africa, unfortunately, my youngest brother passed away from sickle cell anemia. I was sent off to boarding school and had a really, challenging first couple of years in the country, which was compounded further when I lost both my parents to HIV/AIDS when I was 10 and 11. And that's when my journey started in terms of personal development and this journey of moving into the work that I'm in now. I didn't realize it then, but that's actually where it really started. I started trying to find out more about myself, discover, how to navigate life on my own as an orphan. So I got into this mindset of really working hard, pursuing goals, and just driving. I finished school up here in Johannesburg at Parktown Boys. I had a contract to play rugby for Lions. I was playing competitive water polo. I had a bursary to go to Tsogo-san, so I was floating by my early 20s. And I also happened to be blessed with a career development, talent development journey through Tsogo-san and Sun International that helped me and awoke me to my passion, which is helping people grow, develop, and be the best that they can be. I went through a 15-year career development journey, and at the end of it, I landed up being head of marketing for Sun International, which I thought would fulfill all my dreams, make me happy, and send me into the space that I wanted to be in. But what I realized was when I got to the top, I didn't have joy and fulfillment. Something was missing. Something was not working quite right. Even though I had everything I'd wanted, everything I'd worked so hard to get, something was still missing. And cue Lumina Learning and Nicole. I went on a Lumina qualification as part of just trying to figure out what I want to do and what is happening with me and why am I not happy. And Lumina ignited that awareness. It really awoke me to my passion, my purpose, and had such a profound impact on my life that soon after going on the Lumina qualification, I actually left the corporate world. I decided to embrace who I am, to discover what I wanted to accomplish and how I could add value into the world. I took the leap, and I have no regrets. I know it was quite a scary time when I took the leap. It was literally 2 months before COVID started. And then COVID happened, and I started having these doubts. Did I make the right decision? I'm not sure. But I trusted my gut, trusted my instincts, and just followed that purpose. And thank you to Nicole for really helping me and awakening me to that purpose. I don't think you realize what a big role you played in all of that. But it was through that Lumina experience, that qualification, that I came to doing what I do now, which is on one hand, leading a company that develops learning and development solutions, primarily learner management systems. And then on the other hand, I also do performance coaching as part of my company that I founded, Polaris, both using Lumina in some aspect, which I'll hopefully touch on a bit later, but really happy to be part of the Lumina family, and very grateful to Lumina for the impact it's had on my life. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrew. Breathe that in. What a story, and beautiful. Megan, hi.
Hi, Nicole. Lovely to meet you all on the call. I'm really excited to be here. And what a story, Andrew. Wow. How do you follow that? Everything that you've been doing. It's amazing. But no, I'm really excited to be part of this, Nicole. What a great initiative. And I'm Megan de Klerk, and I've spent the last 17 years as a business psychologist. So, you know, helping people understand themselves, and finding Lumina has just impacted me as well, Andrew, in terms of being able to let people understand themselves in a way that's really easy to do so. And so I've spent 17 years working with organizations globally. I've just moved back to South Africa after 21 years in the UK, and really excited to be on the journey with Lumina South Africa as well. And I'm a co-founder of Upward Intentions, which is a creative psychology hub. And we help people ignite their creativity and become curious about themselves, and using Lumina as one of those products as well. And it's just a fun and exciting tool to use, where you get people to be curious about who they are, you know, why do they want to understand other people and the impact that they have. And I'm really excited to continue the conversation, Nicole, around, you know, how we can look back and forward to using Lumina to help people understand themselves a bit more. So that's me.
Thank you, Megan. Such a privilege to have you back in South Africa and to be part of our team here. Really excited for the future and all the synergy. Priyal, hi.
Hi, Nicole, and thank you, Andrew and Megan, for sharing as well. Lovely to be on this panel with you all. So I basically started my corporate experience over 25 years ago. Initially, I'd started in clinical psychology, and working in hospitals, I realized that actually that was quite a heavy environment for me. And at the tender age of 20, I decided, you know, people, there are varying degrees of insanity. And I thought, why not work with corporates and really look at how I can support people there. I've always had an insatiable curiosity to learn and grow, and that kind of sparked my interest in psychology. And so for the last 22 years in corporate, the last 3 years I've been running my own consulting company. So my background is in psychology, coaching, adult learning, and specifically the latter part of my career was in really building high performance teams and leadership capability. And Lumina has just helped me bring an element of agility and fun and a normality to wanting to understand oneself. And in that, really helps me bring a sense of in supporting them on their journey. So, I've just absolutely loved this experience, and loved working with I love working with the teams that I do on an ongoing basis, but really excited about sharing some of the work that I've been working on or engaging in the last couple of years, especially as a consultant, where you're not integrated into the actual aspect of the organization, but you have a slightly removed perspective, and how that as a Lumina practitioner helps me bring in a different perspective to them on their learning journey and their growth and their ability to actually transform into who they want to be. So really looking forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Priyal. And, I've kind of been observing your journey and the work that you do and feedback from your clients in just the highest caliber at so many levels, not just in your wisdom and your professionalism, but also in the relationships that you create at every level. Just really inspired and grateful to you for all your incredible work. And in fact, perhaps we could start by asking you to actually dive into what's happened, because you were so flying and successful pre-COVID, then COVID happened. So what's your journey been like over the last 2 years?
Yeah. So it's been actually very, very interesting for me, and Lumina practitioners would understand the blue personality, and so for me, when I'm preparing for my sessions and working with my teams, I do a lot of background work, a lot of preparation to help me understand what's actually going on. And so when COVID hit, suddenly I felt like I didn't know what I didn't know. But what I found from a Lumina perspective is that not only were there tools to support me, but the learning and the community actually helped me overcome my own resistance to what a virtual learning session could actually look like. And so, a lot of the challenges have been that you get different, as you get different types of leaders. And some were like, no, and others were like, no, let's wait for things to settle down. And so my ability to then meet the client where they were at, and especially those that were willing to kind of move forward, to engage in the conversation. And what Lumina did for me was, as a practitioner, is that it provided not just the terminology that helped me with having the right conversation, but the technology to support that, and also the wonderful, unique techniques. So, I always say there were the 3 T's that helped me transition. And with that, I tried to sit in as many learning opportunities with different people sharing different aspects and ways that they could be doing things, and talking to different practitioners as well. And so it really, firstly, it helped me overcome my own resistance to wanting to overcome that, and to realize that actually, because one of the things for me is that I always felt like in order to hold the space, you have to be in that physical environment with the other person. And so consciously, it felt like, yes, you can actually do it virtually, but I needed to convince myself. And with the right tools and with the right support, and knowing that I could move into quite serious, withdrawn, let me practice, let me get things perfect mode, I was able to kind of look at what are the qualities I needed to really access now. And so it pushed me to also use the terminology and use the process for myself. And in doing that, what I noticed is that my clients started gravitating towards that as well. So it was really about utilizing all these different techniques and tools and showing them how it could be integrated into their daily lives and the different activities that they need to engage in. At the same time, I started hearing different conversations happen within the team. So what it did is it started creating a different pull for me as a practitioner, because suddenly it felt like I understood where they were coming from. So what I was doing at the higher end, the top echelons of the organization, they now wanted to cascade across other areas of the business. And so really meeting people where they're at, You know, and the 3 T's again, just working with the terminology, integrating it into the different conversations, utilizing and making friends with the technology that we have, whether it's the app, the digital coach, the journey to composure. But really, I had to make friends with that first as a practitioner and use it for myself. And the more I would engage and share my own journey, the more receptivity I got from them with my clients. And then, you know, and then the different techniques. So now it's really building, and what I'm noticing is how they are using the tools, using the wheel map, using the building the rapport PDF documents. I mean, there's so many tools that we actually have, and so it was really about making friends with a few tools that I was comfortable with, and when I was comfortable with it, I was able to actually share it in a more meaningful way. So yeah, I hope that's
Amazing.
answered some of the questions that that you
So
had.
valuable, so valuable. Thank you so much for sharing that, and so wonderful to hear how your clients have had such a high level of receptivity, and also really integrating some of these tools in the sustainable way that they've taken them on board and actually doing them independently. Thank you so much, Priyal. Really inspiring to hear that work.
Thank you.
And your journey. So I'm going to ask Andrew now. Be really fascinating to hear both kind of what have you seen happening within, you know, your client base and within the general kind of client landscape. What emerging trends have you noticed? Specifically, we're interested in the last kind of 2 years. Have you been able to use Lumina to help you adapt to these changes? But any kind of observations and any applications you can share, we'd really love to hear.
Cool. I think, yeah, there's definitely been a few interesting trends emerging. One of which I kind of anticipated, and I think I said to you the first meeting we had as soon as the pandemic started, my gut instinct told me that this is our time to rise up as people who are in the transformation space, people in the people development space. This is when I just sensed it, but I didn't quite see how. Until I started engaging with my clients and started hearing people spending more time reflecting, people asking themselves, what am I doing and why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I in the right place in terms of my work? And then depending on like the management's approach to everything that was going on, some people were in a space where their management was just so hard on them, still trying to micromanage them while they were still at home. And those clients were asking themselves, why am I putting up with this? Why am I doing all of this and living this type of life? So the question started gravitating towards, with everybody with that reflection, started gravitating towards purpose. And am I fulfilled? Am I happy doing what I'm doing? And it was so interesting for me. I got goosebumps talking about it because I was in that exact space, you know, a year or two ago. So I thought to myself, wow, it's almost like that whole experience primed me for this experience. So I was able to help people or help my clients ignite that self-awareness, understand who they are first before they start running off into, you know, leaving their jobs and trying to pursue something that they didn't know what was. So with Lumina, I've been doing a lot of work in terms of igniting that self-awareness. Who are you? Who are you at your core? Not all these identities that you've assumed because of society and at work, and you're a mother and you're a sister and you're this and you're a PTA member. Who are you at your core? I discovered a lot about who I am at my core through that process, and things about me that will never change, irrespective of any circumstances around me, who I truly am. And that it wasn't defined by a specific job. It wasn't defined by a role that I played in society. And then allowing or giving my clients and myself space for that true self, that true identity, that authentic self to come out and manifest. So I was on that journey, and also realized that managers or the senior execs started becoming more sensitive to their employees' needs. Started to understand that mental health is really important, that purpose and fulfillment in their work is really important, that you don't have to micromanage somebody and just watch how much time are they online and what are they doing at every second of the day, that you can manage through outputs, deliver X, and how you do it, how you go about it is up to you. So people started to understand that, hey, there is a different way of doing things. And I'm sure you've all heard the comments going around about, why are we in a 5-day week? Who decided that? Was it Henry Ford? Or, why do we have 5-day weeks? Why not have 3-day weeks? So people are starting to question the status quo, how we do things, how we operate, not just in work, but just in society in general. And that sort of awakening has really created a space for me to challenge individuals and clients on why or how they do things themselves personally. Why do you show up in this way? Why do you behave in that way? Why do these sort of things come out in terms of your overextensions? So it just allows a space. It made it easier, put it that way, to probe and to challenge why people do things the way they do, which then obviously opens them up to that the concept of, hey, maybe I can change, I can develop, I can transform, I can be better. I'm not stuck, I'm not restricted to this way of being and this way of living. There can be other ways of doing things. So that's really what I'm seeing, is people are more open to change and to transformation.
Amazing. And with that openness, they're also being really inspired around asking those questions, as you said, what's my purpose? Getting clear on purpose, and now I have options, and it's up to me. I can actually live into this dream and possibility, whereas before it was kind of more narrowed. Absolutely. And so you're really inspiring that at every level with your clients. Stepping into that new space that's opened up.
100%. Yeah. And then the last comment I just want to make is, because of the stress of the pandemic and all the challenges it brought, people started also becoming very aware of their overextensions. And it's a funny debate I have with a few clients where they didn't believe that they were overextending. They're like, no, but this is okay. This is just how I am. And then obviously after a bit of probing, they realize that, oh, okay, this is me overextending or overdoing a certain quality. So that awareness of the overextensions, and some people, it was so intense that they were almost always overextended in their work environment because it was just such a high. So that awareness of, oh, these overextensions are coming out, they're not healthy for me, they're not serving me in terms of my relationships, my performance, and my well-being. I need to do something about this. Was also another element. So you're right, that self-efficacy, that belief that I can change things, I can actually take charge of my situation. I just find it beautiful to see that happening.
So just that extra element that you've added in around the awareness and actually the blind spot that I'm actually operating in my overextension full time now to respond to the world. And as soon as you shine the light on it, people look at the consequence and impact, take that breath, and then start to shift. Do you use both Lumina Spark and Lumina Emotion when you look at the overextensions, using emotion at a deeper level?
It does help a lot. I found that there was this one client who she introspected a lot, but she didn't see it as that until I pointed it out in terms of the Lumina Emotion. So it's just such a nice layer to add to Lumina Spark. I mean, Lumina Spark does a great job in creating that awareness and understanding. But because I had more time with certain clients, and I was given the privilege of being with certain clients for over 18 months, we could go deeper and we could peel away those layers, and then they could see how their behavior, how they're showing up, is being driven by some underlying factors and drivers, and we could start making those connections. And making those connections was such a powerful thing, because some people thought that the way they behaved was because of a certain individual, or because of the circumstance they were in, or how their team operates. until we go to that Lumina emotion and we start delving the drivers, and they realize, actually, no, it's got nothing to do with anyone else. This is coming from something deep within me.
And have you noticed anything, because I think emotion is very interesting within COVID around stress, management of stress. Did you notice any shifts in trends or patterns, maybe around inner confidence, resilience, stress levels, optimism, pessimism? Did anything come up there?
Yeah, resilience was a big one. I've really noticed that the people who thrived during COVID, or who made the most of it, were people who had some situations in their lives where they had to really be resilient and had to fight. Those were the people who were emerging and sort of picking everyone else up. Unfortunately, yeah, the ones that hadn't had as much adversity or challenges in their lives really struggled with the pandemic, because it was almost like the worst thing that's ever happened to them. And others, like myself, I was like, oh, well,
That's
it's another situation. We're going to knuckle down and deal with it like we've dealt with everything else. And so that resilience factor was huge. The more a person had that built-in resilient, sort of attitude or characteristic, the better they coped with the pandemic.
Fascinating. It sounds as if there's another PhD coming on, Megan, your next next thesis to work on, looking at the impact of previous adversity, having it or not having it, as a way that you cope and adapt today. Really interesting. Very aligned on that belief. Sadly, I think the whole world has been woken up that it's not smooth and easy, but actually it's about how do we ride the waves of the highs and the lows, because they're here, to stay. Andrew, thank you. Really.
Can I add one last thing? You just reminded me. Sorry, Megan. Just one last thing. Is everyone realized how certainty is actually a myth? It doesn't exist. There is no certainty. It's everything is uncertain and everything's out of your control. So that was something that really everybody awoke to and realized that, the job security, all of that stuff, it's just, yeah, it's can't think of the word right now, but it's an illusion. Yeah, I'll put it that way. It's an illusion. There is no certainty. You've got to just deal with life as it comes, and that is life. That is, you just experience it. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no, brilliant last comment. Thank you. So I'm going to move to Megan, and really just interested in your experience and perception of client needs. Has there been a shift in, and change in their, from the work that you've done, and how have you responded to that?
Yeah, I mean, I find it interesting that both what Priyal and Andrew have both said. And, for me, the biggest shift that I've had with my clients over the last 2 years is looking at the wholeness of self. So how do we work with our fear instead of against it? So how do we understand what we bring? As we say, we've all been through this shift. We've all had COVID happen, and it's brought trauma. And I think that a lot of the clients are realizing that actually we need to start working with their teams to understand what that trauma means, so we can then move forward into a wholeness of self, that we can bring our virtual selves and our hybrid selves into this workplace. Because now we're shifting from being totally virtual to now we've got to be hybrid, and even that word in itself shifts what that wholeness of self is, because now as a manager I need to be at home, but then also be in the office sometimes. And then I've got people that are working in both those dualities as well. And so for me, I'm finding a big shift in organizations coming and asking me to help with wellness. To really focus on how can we use Lumina as a tool to raise that self-awareness so that people can be more well in themselves, and I think maybe the overextensions is something that we're focusing on a lot at the moment, because how do you pick up when you don't have a visual of somebody, those terminologies of when somebody is, so what language are we using in a virtual world that can enable us as a manager to understand, okay, so that person might be overextending into, maybe outcome focused, because they're asking me 1,001 questions and I don't know what they want, they don't know what they need from me. So how do I do that? But then I've got somebody in the office that I can actually physically see actually needs to now go away and have some space and really think about themselves. So the conversation has shifted from, oh, let's just raise self-awareness to actually let's bring that wellness back into the workplace. It's no longer just a reward. As part of our reward package, we focus on health and safety, we focus on wellness. We actually now need to understand it in a deeper form, and the Lumina tools really do help with that. You know, all of the mats that we had in the office, we can now virtually use them. And I did some work with an insurance company where the operations team at a call center, none of their managers had ever worked virtually before. And for them, the anxiety of not being able to micromanage, Andrew, to your point, their teams every minute of the call, they couldn't see what was going on, they couldn't see what's, and the anxiety and the stress that happened and that caused. And I used Lumina with them in terms of getting them to understand themselves, but also, okay, so it's okay to be different. And I think that's also something we need to recognize, is that people feel like when you're in your corporate environment, you have those values, you've got the building, you all kind of feel like you conform to something. But then we take it virtually, we no longer have that identity of a corporate environment, but that's okay. So using Lumina to help people understand that difference is actually the fundamental of what makes us human. And I think that shift is going to continue, that we no longer have a corporate identity, we only have our identity to bring to a virtual world. And I think one of the biggest shifts I've also had is the conversation around, you know, do we need to go back and see office? And there is that fundamental of, yes, we do need a bit of hybrid because we are human. And, you know, I've had a conversation with a lot of introverted people who said they didn't realize they actually need the connection more than ever before. They were really excited at the beginning of COVID to be at home and to be away from people. And the further I've been coaching them and the more I've been coaching them, they just realize how much they actually need just a little bit of connection, even though they're very introverted and they have very little extroverted on their profile. So, you know, so I think us as individuals are also shifting in terms of how we feel we need connection, and what does connection actually mean for us in terms of our personality and our qualities that we have in the office as well. So I'm going to stop there, yeah, because I think I'm just adding on to the brilliance that we've been hearing from both of the panel speakers as well.
Thanks, Megan. That's really fantastic. And, you know, I think that it's also bringing a new level of appreciation of actually going to work, because it's fascinating how people were really quite not excited, but, you know, it happened. It was something different, working from home, having space, my own time. And as it got longer and longer and longer, and there's different other pressures, people realizing, as you said, I need that connection. And definitely there's different industries that I think have really increased productivity by, you know, being on their own, but some are really challenged more around the marketing, the creativity, where you need that connection. But I've also noticed that what a lot of leaders are really missing is that in the moment conversation, whether it's giving feedback and acknowledging or seeing, or, you know, all the other stuff that happens naturally by being around people, is much harder for teams to ignite intentionally and consciously, to say, right, I need to make a call, I need to set up a meeting. So there's a bit of that stagnancy that can happen. So it's going to be really interesting, because it does seem like this hybrid working is here to stay. And also for us, our hybrid working, whether we do some work online, which we found, as you've all said, can work really powerfully, and there's many actual advantages to it around really being intentional about our work. And then, you know, I just recently had my first re-engagement face-to-face, was working at a school with grade 7 girls. And it was fantastic to be in person, working on the mat and the cards, and just the physical engagement. So yeah, we can make both work, but amongst all of this, the sensitivity to going back to what Andrew was saying around that inner core of sensitivity and well-being that we need to really embrace and hold with this change as people are going through this experience at every level. You know, how do we hold, embrace that, support it, so that in a way the world can be different. We're not just going to be more of what we had. There's a shift available to us around being more on purpose, caring about each other, more connection, caring about our planet. There's so many, great changes, more empathy, more heart. How do we hold that as with our L&D space to help this change be more sustainable and impactful? So I'd like to ask each of you, I'm going to go back to Andrew first, just if we can now just have a moment to look forward, 2022. How do we really remain agile to meet those clients' needs and these different trends that we discussed? What is it that we can best do as practitioners in terms of the way forward for 2022 and beyond? So any thoughts or ideas?
Yeah, I think for me, the main thing is to be open to anything. I'll give you an example for myself. Two of the things I'm doing now, I had no idea I would even go into that space a year ago. If you had asked me, would you be involved in this? I'd say, no, I'm not interested in that. Simply because I was just closed off to it, and I just had my mindset on delivering or helping people in a certain way. But when you go back to that space of your core self, your purpose, that can manifest itself in so many different ways, and you don't know how it's going to manifest or how the world's going to be shaped and open up spaces for you to step into. So be open and keep your eyes open. And the other thing is embrace technology, embrace blended learning. We all love being in person. We all love that energy and that comes, and the excitement comes with being face to face with someone. We must also embrace that people want to learn at their own times. They might want to learn in different ways. People have different ways of consuming information. People want to spend a lot of time on their phones. So yes, there'll always be a place for face-to-face learning. There'll always be a need for it. There'll always, that connection will have to be there. But technology has moved us into another space and opened up more opportunities for people to grow and develop. So embrace technology and blended learning.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Priyal, can I ask your perspective?
Sure, thanks, Nicole. I echo what Andrew is saying, and really to build on that is listen. So truly listen to, not just where you are at as an individual, but what actually is going on around you. What's happening with your clients? Because often they don't know what they don't know. And when you are able to truly listen and then understand what it is that you are noticing, what you are hearing, then you're able to actually connect the dots for them. And help them connect the dots for themselves, So I've been practicing this myself because, as a deep blue person, it's like, no, I need to have the solution ready in my armor. And what I've realized is that when I'm just truly present and I'm open to actually hearing what's coming in, my ability to truly understand what's going on, challenge the status quo, and support them in connecting their own dots, really is the key to being agile. Really is the key for us to actually make those shifts and to recalibrate. And like you're saying, the shift from virtual to hybrid to in person, like, where are we? What's this sense of self that we actually have, and so it's a constant recalibration. I mean, as a meditator for many years, one of the things about yoga is not about being in balance, but how you come back to it. So I apply that in what I try to do and in how I allow my clients to also see that, yes, certainty is an illusion, but certainty for this moment possibly existed. And so how do you become aware of that so that you can come back to what's the balance you need right now, fully, and yeah, so that's
Beautiful.
what I would like to share.
Megan.
Beautiful.
2022 and beyond.
Yes, I mean,
What do
to
you
add
say,
to
Adrian?
openness, listening, I think it's remaining curious, really asking the questions about, why do I feel this way? What can I learn from it? How can this experience make me big, not small? So I think for me, to add to the openness, the listening, the meditating, being present, is then to ask those questions of yourself and others around you, so that you can continue to learn and grow. And, we're going to have the technology that can help us. We're all going to learn it different ways, but we can only choose ourselves first. So in 2022, I would, ask everyone, choose yourself, and then think about others, because we can't grow and be healthy if we aren't looking at ourselves first and grounding ourselves in where we are. And just asking ourselves, for as much as we can, the questions that we need, where am I going? Why am I doing this? And is it going to be compassionate towards others at every point that I'm doing it? So I think, as we're all coming out of this, we're probably all going to have to be a bit more compassionate, because we haven't been around people quite often, and we've been at home, and we might have forgot those social skills. So I do think that there's something about catching ourselves as well, as we start going more into the world in 2022. So yeah, that would be my observation.
I love that. So in terms of, you're saying, yes, it's about us being of service to the world, but also have the self-compassion in terms of also checking our own journey and making sure that we can go gently, fill ourselves up, so that we can be truly present, curious, open, listening, to be responsive to whatever is in front of us, which inevitably will keep shifting and changing. Thank you. I just want to take a deep breath and say it's been such a privilege to have you, to have us together. I feel like I need a group hug right now, but just to hear your yes, thank you, your wisdom and your experience over the last 2 years, and what you're bringing in terms of going forward is really beautiful qualities that I think we can all just take that step, that pause, that moment to reflect, and to go gently with ourselves as we look ahead, and know that we are each doing great work, every moment, every conversation. So just to be kind to ourselves. And, I love your summary, Megan, around openness, listening, curiosity, presencing. Just thank you so much, Megan, Priyal, Andrew. It's been really wonderful. And just you three, and all of you, anyone who's listening, just go gently, be well. And thank you so much, and have a beautiful day.